Good morning, everybody, or maybe it's afternoon where you're at. It just turned 12 noon Mountain Time. I'm Etheline Ironcloud, Two Dogs, and I'm one of your facilitators for the Talking Circle today from the OJJDP Tribal Youth Training and Technical Assistance Center. Our topic today is sustainability. Toja Aaron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Etheline. Hi, everyone. This is Erin Stenelk. I'm also a Technical Assistance Coordinator with the OJJDP Tribal Youth Training and Technical Assistance Center. I'm really happy that you guys are all here today, and I am looking forward to hearing some thoughts from you all on sustainability.
Thank you, Toja. We have John, good morning, from Washington. Katie, I'm sorry I don't want to attempt to pronounce your tribe. Katie and Sam, welcome. We're going to get started here. And again, the topic is sustainability, and you're probably wondering, why are we starting with sustainability when we haven't even started our project yet? And that's when you start sustainability planning, is whenever you start your project and when you're thinking about, how are these services, these activities going to be sustained beyond the grant period? How are we going to do that? So the thinking about that starts right now, starts at the very beginning, So that's why we're starting with this talking circle. Just like to say good morning again. Good afternoon to Alyssa, Chanel. I think that's how you say your name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Christina, Daniel, James, John, Catherine, Katie, Michelle. Good morning, Toja, Natalie. Good morning, Paulette, Star, Terry. We also have with us from our center, we have Nicholas Birdhead, who is our wonderful tech person. We also have Gandra Val from our TA center, who is our great training coordinator. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you for being here. I think Anna said, good morning, Anna. She said there's some feedback. So if you could mute your lines before while you're not speaking, I should say. All the lines are open because this is a talking circle, and the purpose of it is to share strategies, tools, resources that are relevant to strategic planning that can lead to sustainability. So it's your time to share, and we have some tools to share with you. So we can do that later on, but we'd like to give this opportunity to you to share anything that you'd like to do, anything you'd like to relate it to sustainability. Anna, is that feedback gone, or has it stopped? Okay, good. She said yes. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, everybody, depending on where you're at. Again, my name is Etheline Ironcloud Two Dogs. I'm Oglala Lakota. I'm a special program coordinator and a special advisor for the Tribal Youth Training and Technical Assistance Center. And Toja Aaron, do you want to introduce yourself again for those who just joined us?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Erin Stenelk. I'm Sichangu Lakota. I am a TA for the Tribal Youth Technical Center, and I'm really happy to be here with you all today for this talking circle, looking at how you can maintain your program and its benefits over time. So that is really what we're looking at with sustainability. And today, we're going to pull up some talking points that we'd like to discuss with you in regards to some areas of sustainability. And then, like Etheline had just mentioned previously, after that we're going to share some tools and resources with you that could be very helpful with this planning grant.
Thank you, Toja. So why don't we get started in our discussion? We know that sustainability is a big factor, big issue, and there's a lot of factors in sustaining program goals, objectives, and activities. And we'd like to give you the opportunity to share what you think the major factor is in sustainability. We'd also like to talk about some challenges that are present in sustaining program activities, goals, objectives. So if you could, when you want to speak, if you could unmute yourself, unmute your line, and then say your name and where you're from, and we can keep the conversation, the discussion, we'll have it recorded so that if there's any questions or if there's anything we want to refer back to, then we'll have your name and your where you're from. Would anybody like to share about the major factors in sustaining program goals, objectives, and activities, or activities? Or major challenges?
I would just like to share too, I'm going to jump in here really quick. This is Erin. If for whatever reason you aren't able to give feedback verbally, feel free to type it into the chat, and either Tui, Evelyn, or I will read it, and we can open it up for discussion that way too.
For that, well, let's talk a little bit about sustainability. Sometimes the sustainability is looked at as a really overwhelming, issue. How am I going to sustain this whole project? This project that I might have $200,000 a year for, and where is that $200,000 going to come from? That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is in terms of maybe components or pieces or portions of the program. How can you sustain maybe one part of it? I'll give you an example. Several years ago, I was part of a group that really wanted to reconnect to the Lakota teachings, and we wanted to share those teachings with the community. And one of the teachings is about kinship. So kinship is very important in the Lakota belief system, worldview. And kinship implies not only blood relatives, but also human relatives, relatives by marriage, being relatives with the horses, with the buffalo, with the birds, the eagles, the trees, the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars. So we wanted to make sure that we reconnected with our relatives, but we also wanted to acknowledge it in a way that would emphasize and highlight the importance of kinship. So we started to use kinship terms with one another, even if we weren't related. And it was awkward at first whenever we started talking about, for example, in my Lakota language, then the kinship term for male cousin is Shicheshi, and it's appropriate and common for females to call males that are about their same age Shicheshi, even if they're not related, because what that does is it sets up boundaries of conduct, appropriate and respectful conduct, and it also sets up, implies respect and honor for that person. So it was awkward at first, but over time it became common, and everybody that worked together in that project eventually started calling each other by kinship terms. And then it extended out to the families that we worked with. And so now I see, people that were associated with that project in some way, and they may not even be related, but they'll still call me by a kinship term, and they use the kinship term. So that was sustained, over time, that practice and that belief. So that's just an example of, how something, a part of a project can be sustained. Any other discussion or ideas or comments about sustainability?
Tui, it looks like in the chat we have a couple of feedback on this. Natalie shared a major factor could be looking at the community buy-in, support, and participation, while the major challenge could be financial resources. So like you said before, receiving a set amount of money but trying to fulfill all of your goals and objectives, trying to maintain the program, its benefits over time, and really trying to position your efforts for long-term success. So that was really great feedback from Natalie.
Thank you for that, Pooja, thank you for that, Pooja and Natalie. I would like to say that if you would like to say out loud what you're thinking, you're certainly welcome to. I see Daniel has questions and a comment. Daniel, would you like to unmute your mic and share what you're thinking about?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I guess one of the problems we have here, I guess, is turnover. We get staff on, and then due to competing salaries out there, people move on. And yes, a good strategic plan can help. But I was just wondering, what are some other ideas out there that could help with the turnover?
Thank you for that, Daniel. Anybody else want to chime in on that? What are some good ideas, some strategies for addressing turnover rates or addressing sustainability when you have a high turnover rate?
Hi, this is Anna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I think one of those things, I know that's probably something that happens, across many communities, not just tribal, but, other communities as well. And I just really think having someone that's really motivated to lead the team and really get that team buy-in can be helpful. Obviously, just for, what is the purpose? Why are we here? And I know with that specific project, it really is trying to help the community's youth. And so, maybe employing people who are directly, within the community and can see the change over time, and maybe that would increase the buy-in, as opposed to maybe, bringing in people that are outside the community and don't necessarily have that connection. I don't know if that's something that could be helpful. What are your thoughts on that, Erin and Ethelene?
I absolutely understand what you're saying, Anna. Thank you for chiming in. I really like that model. I've seen it with sustainability planning in several communities. Really taking that growing your own on as part of one of the strategies for recruiting and maintaining qualified personnel that stay for a long time. So that might, even begin looking at possible training or school assistance programs to further, professional degrees, and so that they are more likely to stay, and also that benefit that they have from increased education could help with the program.
I agree. I think that's a very important issue, the turnover rates. And a lot of times when things aren't documented, then the person that was in that position and that was leading a particular, part of the project, they take that information with them, and the knowledge isn't institutionalized. So I think that's another factor we need to look at, is how are things being documented. Terry, you have a comment. Would you like to unmute your mic and share with us? rather than
Maybe Terry. Oh, there we go. He's saying he's not sure how to do that. Maybe.
So Nicholas, is everyone unmuted?
Yeah, there should be. I didn't mute anybody.
Okay. So,
Well, maybe while Terry's figuring that out, I guess I would like to maybe just jump in and comment on that too. That's something that I've seen with in regards to program sustainability when it comes to positions. A lot of times we might fall into the practice of creating a job description based upon a person because they, are really wonderful and amazing, and they have these incredible skills and knowledge and experience. But oftentimes when we do that, if they do leave, then yes, what happens to the roles and responsibilities of that person in that position? So I think, really looking at your policies, procedures, and even when it comes down to the job descriptions, I think that can be very helpful. So what you're saying previously to me, Etheline, about making sure that things are documented and, that there's that paper trail, I guess, so that anybody that comes into the position ideally could possibly pick up right where the other person had left off, that they would have the resources that they would need so that they could do that.
good point. So Terry, if you cannot unmute your line, then I can, or if there's an issue there, then I can read what you commented about. Terry's saying, I would like to see a required 2-week turnover time to train your replacement at our location. Sometimes it isn't the staff member, but the information that gets lost. And I think that's what we were emphasizing is that, how do you sustain something if you don't have the, the knowledge and what was done before, a documentation of that. So I think that's real important.
This is Terry.
Hi, Terry.
I've figured it out.
Good. Thank you for joining.
When I've worked, most of my life has been working in the healthcare field. And in the healthcare field, in groups that have high turnover, what they do is they pay you by month instead of, you might get a paycheck every 2 weeks, but you basically get paid by month. And if you don't give 2 weeks notice, they drop you to minimum wage for that last entire month. And you've signed a paper saying that that's okay. And that really changes people from running off. Instead of just quitting and then not having any transition, then there's almost always a 2-week to a whole month of transition time because some of the things that can be written down aren't written down not because a person doesn't want to share them, but because they thought they were so simple that they didn't realize that it was data, that it was really important information.
Very important. So if there's something built in so that people that are planning to leave and transition out, that there is transition time, I think that's really critical. Paulette, did you want to make a comment about what you were talking about in terms of losing energy, losing membership, and sustainability planning? Might be not able to unmute her line, but Paulette was talking about not having, if there's no immediate progress, so if people don't see observable change, then they stop coming to the sustainability planning meetings. How many of you have been in meetings after meetings after meetings and there isn't any action? And I think that's definitely a pitfall to look out for. And how do you address that? How have you addressed that in your community, in your projects? Anything, it might not be in this project, but it might be in another project that you have experience with. Any thoughts on that from anybody?
Hey, this is Anna again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was going to say, I know I like how in some of the meetings that we have that we create clear action items from those meetings and then follow up. And I know that even when you're at the very beginning of your processes and you're talking about long-term sustainability, you know, there's always actions that you can take as a team. And like we're talking about, clearly documenting, you know, whose responsibility it is to follow up on those particular items, even if they're long-term and long-range objectives, is a really good step toward, you know, your long-term sustainability planning.
That is very important, a very important point. And the action planning, you know, having some very concrete action items. So, for example, in our community here, we're planning a behavioral health training for laypersons, and we're really focusing on the community because a lot of times the training is often directed at service providers, towards service providers, and there's turnover, and those service providers will take the, you know, the training with them. So what we decided to do was to focus on the community, and we are also focusing on the jail population, you know, to give them some training, because that's literally a captive audience, you know. So that's one way, you know, that we're looking at sustainability is, you know, put the training into the resources into the community and the families, you know, and they'll stay there. Service providers, and I'm not disrespecting service providers or anything. I understand, you know, that there's reasons why people leave positions, but we also have to put some resources toward the community. Any other thoughts? Harry was talking about data collection plans and how important that is. The communities often don't examine the data, which can provide rich information to sustainability planning efforts and for the system and service quality improvement. I totally agree. We don't take, and when I say we, I'm talking about generally the community, we don't take enough time to look at our data and reflect on what we're doing, how we've done it, you know, what we could have done differently, what our strengths are. So I think that's a critical point also. Well, we talked about major factors, major challenges, and of course a major challenge is, you know, funding. We would all love to have, you know, the same level of funding for a project to carry on into the future. That's not possible most of the time. So we have to look at other creative ways to sustain what we're doing. Other major factors, staff turnover, not looking at data, you know, different general, I guess, areas of sustainability. Well, why don't we talk about the partnerships and collaboration? You know, how can a focus on partnerships and collaboration lead to sustainability? Any thoughts on that? Feel free to unmute yourself. Feel free to jump in, dive in, join in the discussion. I know a lot of you, everybody has something to offer. Talk about partnerships and collaboration.
This is Daniel from Tesuque Pueblo, and I just I wanted to
I'm trying to
add.
Webinar.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Daniel. I think somebody else
yeah.
is talking.
I just wanted to think out loud. But we have a community of care coalition that we established here, and that's kind of been our focus group in the past. And we had 2 other grants, you know, that we've been working off of, and those fundings have come to an end. and now we're coming to this program now. But the Community of Care Coalition is pretty much the main community members that come to our meetings all the time and put in their insight for the focus group and for data and the data collection. And like when you come to these vision statements and mission statements, it kind of seems like we're reinventing the wheel sometimes with these grants, but you know, it kind of seems like to be sustainable with this coalition group that we have is just working off of the vision and the mission for our youth and substance abuse into this grant. You know, instead of reinventing the wheel, we just kind of made a few amendments and fixed a few things here and there, but the main goal has always been the same. And it's kind of hard sometimes when you lose grant monies and then you try and identify another community group, or you try and identify an advisory committee or the Juvenile Healing Wellness team. But when you have a group that's motivated, like how we're saying we want the employees to be, we already have a coalition that is motivated. So I think, you know, it's good sustainability to keep that focus from that group, and when youth and substance abuse and everything falls under the umbrella, under the social issues. So, you know, keeping that sustainability with that group has been kind of good, and I was just wondering if other people have that problem of having a good group and then trying to identify another group. But we're a small community, so we only have so many people. But I just wanted to kind of add that in.
Thank you for that. I think that's really critical in terms of sustainability, is having one group, one mission, one vision, you know, and extending that mission and vision to different strategies. You know, I know that has worked for us in the past also. Any thoughts on that, on Daniel's comment about creating mission and vision statements for every project, when in contrast to having one mission, one vision for all youth, for the entire community, and extending off of that? Any thoughts on that? What do you think, Christina, Donna, Eulalia, James, Gerald, Alyssa? We have two Alyssas with us. Thoughts? Catherine, Katie, Lorena?
Oh, I want to add, this is Lorena from, excuse me?
Sure.
This is Lorena. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. This is Lorena Linda McLeod from Nisqually, and we've had this grant for some time, and I've just recently acquired it in my division. And so I oversee all the early learning programs, and we have a lot of partnerships and collaboration with our school districts and all of our tribal entities. And so we do MOUs, and I think that's probably the most challenging, is with other departments such as substance abuse. They primarily focus on adults, and in my early learning programs we focus on the little ones, and so we're really making a difference there, but we make sure we are using our funding wisely. So we have a lot of collaboration because we are a gaming tribe, so we look to the tribe for our shortfalls, but part of the mission and vision ties back to our overall tribal mission and vision statement. So that's kind of how we do it here. But we really have great partnerships with our school districts and our local communities. And collaboration is, I mean, that's something we all have to embrace because of the funding. But that's what we do here.
Lorena, could I ask you a question? Thank you for that. How
Sure.
did you start your partnerships, and how did you sustain those?
Well, actually, we started from the Head Start program. Actually, I oversee our Head Start program and our daycare, and I work really close hand in hand with our youth services. And so how we started with, they have a Head Start Policy Council group, and we started with them, and then we, through acquiring this grant, we're just now setting up our youth council. And so, but it all started with another program, and what I do is, because I oversee all of them, I have partnerships and MOUs with almost every entity in the tribe, only because it spells out what we do and what they will do. And so it's kind of a, like I've been hearing, it's kind of a buy-in, and sometimes that works, sometimes it don't, but by most part, because we're all from the same community, you know, there's somebody in the group, somebody in their program that's interested in what we have to say. So I just really, and I pray a lot. Don't get me wrong, I pray a lot on it. So, but that's how we do is I reach out to the different committees we have here at the tribe, and what I'm doing is kind of giving them information and trying to educate them on how this program could fit in our community now.
So you actually started out like every entity within the tribe, whether they were directly related or not, then you
Yes.
did an MOU with them.
Yes, yes, and they have money, so you know, I like I said, I did the counting for 6 years for the tribe, so I know a lot of the programs and their funding and how that's just, you know, basically talking with each director and selling them this program. Not just this program, but all our programs that service our children and families.
So you actually went knocking on doors and establishing that partnership, and
Yes.
then how did you maintain it, or how do you maintain it?
We have director and managers monthly meetings, and so so that's when everybody, our CEO brings us, all the directors and managers together, and that's a time we can share what our needs are and see if anybody there has funding, or if they have somebody they can have volunteer, or you know, to how we can help them and they can help us. I kind of go back to the old way. You know, if we didn't have money, we'd all be surviving somehow. And you know, I always throw that theory out is, you know, we depend on the money, but we got to depend on each other more. And so, and I also preach to them that this is our future. You know, these children are going to be here, whether they're, you know, making a difference or making chaos for us. They're going to be here, and we want to embrace that. You know, so I have from infant to elders in all of my programs right now.
That's really a wonderful approach, you know, to say, you know, we have, yes, we need resources, we need money, but we need each other more, you know.
Exactly.
And we have to depend on each other more. So, and I
Yes.
think that's something that is really relevant to, you know, indigenous, native communities, that we did survive, you know, somehow we survived.
Yes.
And we're here now in 2017, and so, you know, taking that same approach, that historical approach to helping one another and sharing, you know, resources is really critical. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So is there any other comments from anybody? I don't mean to call on people, I just like to say your name. Lynn Ann, Mary, Eulalia, Christina, Chanel, Alyssa, John, any thoughts? Star, Michelle? Any thoughts about capacity building, communications, evaluation, financing, leadership, sustainability, planning in terms of the plan itself? Any thoughts that you might have? And I am trying to keep up with the chat and your comments. Some of you may prefer not to speak out loud, and I really want to acknowledge those your comments in there. So I'm going to maximize the chat room.
There we go.
Yeah. So just coming from the bottom, Alyssa, at Seminole Nation, we sent out an email to all departments. Those departments then contacted outside organizations who contacted me wanting to be involved. We had our first staffing March 20th to introduce the program. We are now working on MOUs for each team member. Organizations are excited and continue to contact me wanting more information. So you kind of put your, I guess, your tentacles, not to use any negative term, but that's what I imagine, that you spread that out, to the information out to the departments, and then they spread it out to outside organizations. That's a really great strategy. Eulalia from Jemez Pueblo, they have a Jemez Justice Advisory Committee that is represented by law enforcement, tribal probation, behavioral health, senior citizens, and social services. They are organized to provide the collaboration for grants and other program initiatives. So the sense I'm getting from the previous discussion and from the chat is that it's very important to have a coalition, right? To have some type of collaborative body that does oversees and coordinates and meets and helps each other. Alyssa talks about coming from an outside partnership. They have a grant that is working with the Washoe tribe directly for suicide prevention and substance abuse for youth. The biggest struggle their community has is community buy-in and support, like what Toja Natalie was talking about. Our grant is very new, so we have just scratched the surface, but we want to support the youth as much as we can. And I think that's very common, Alyssa. We really want to support and help the youth, and a lot of times, the individual programs struggle to do it on their own, so that collaboration is really, really key. So let's see, are there any other comments? Chanel, data collection and professional evaluation is something we are experiencing as a major challenge. There are not enough programs in our tribal community who actually have a sufficient data collection process. Chanel, I'd just like to share that we have people on our, among our staff, on our team that have evaluation expertise, and we can certainly help with that, designing an evaluation process. I don't want to volunteer anybody, and I won't name them right now, but if you put in a technical assistance request for that, then that's something that, we can assist you with. We do have people that are experienced with that. Alyssa, the team has been easy to put together. We're also working on an eligibility criteria checklist to ensure the team is on the right track in regard to the types of case accepted and transferred into the program. So that's real important to have those tools, in terms of keeping on track. There's something called mission drift, where we're set up to do something, but we realize or decide that, these other needs are very important too, so then we drift away from our mission. Sometimes that is a good thing, sometimes that can be a negative thing. Okay, so I'm sorry if I missed a comment. I would like to go forward with some of the tools that we wanted to share with you, and I am going to turn it over to Toja Aaron.
Okay, thank you so much. It was really great to hear from everyone. It sounds like there's been a lot of experience in the community work that you have done with regards to sustainability. Some areas that you've had experience with, and bringing that up today could really help others have some different views on areas that they may not have thought about. So I really appreciate everybody either, speaking up on the chat or unmuting and speaking up over the phone. So that was really great to have that conversation. And so that's part of the reason why we wanted to have this format, is that we can really have a chance just to sit down together and really, go over and process the theme and the topic that we're looking at. So the next few, go ahead. Oh, maybe there wasn't anybody. Okay, so the next few slides that we're going to look at are the actual sustainability planning templates. So the first thing that we would really like you to do is, there is a program sustainability tool, and that is from the Center for Public Health System Sciences at the George Warren Brown School of Social Work in the Washington University. They have created an amazing sustainability tool, and that's actually in the 4th box. So that would be one of your very first steps if you could gather together with your advisory board. I know, Tumi Etheline, you have used this with your work with communities and have found great success.
Yes. And
we really feel that it's going to be a great tool for our grantees this year, really helping you to explore some challenges to sustainability, but then also to look at how you can develop solutions. So that sustainability tool, it's not extensive. It's only about 40 questions, and it just looks at 8 components to really look at sustainability challenges. And some of those are environmental support, funding stability, partnerships like we discussed. So those eight domains there's 40 questions, and it's just a quick, reflection that has a Likert scale based upon how supportive you feel that those components are, in the community to what extent they are being supported in the community. And you have the option, basically, when you do that sustainability tool template, to either go in by yourself as the program coordinator. You also have the ability to send the tool to your advisory committee members, and that's actually the strategy that we would really strongly suggest, because then you can have more viewpoints, and which is really critical when you're doing any type of planning for your program. So basically, this sustainability tool, you fill out the 40 questions, and then they actually compile a report that they give back to your team on key areas that you may not have thought about, or maybe you've thought about, but it would give you additional ideas of areas to explore so that you can really have a strong sustainability plan. Tumi Etheline, did you want to add anything to that, since you've had a little more experience than I have?
I think the structure of it is real important. You may want to adapt the tool. You probably have to get permission from the developers, but I think the having a plan, having a template is really important, to sit down and really look at the domains, partnerships, mission and vision, having advocates or champions, for your program, it sounds like, when Lorena was talking about having, telling people, that we have to help each other. We do need money, but we have to also rely on each other. And she talked about having a, youth council, a policy council, and having partnerships with, each individual entity, within the tribe. I think those, are really important sustainability factors, but how do we come to an understanding of what sustainability is if we don't sit down and have some type of tool to guide us? And this is, merely a guide. It's a very valuable tool, but it's a guide. It doesn't mean that you have to go by it exactly. So just wanted to comment about that.
Thank you very much. So basically we are assisting you with these sustainability planning templates to begin understanding the factors that could influence your program's capacity for sustainability, and then, taking the steps to assess, what those areas are, really looking at, strengths and challenges regarding sustainability, then, taking a look together as a group on reviewing what the results are from that tool assessment. Also, as you're doing the sustainability tool assessment, you'll probably have really great dialogue. So it would be a really good idea to have someone, maybe even have the white notebook paper up on the wall taking notes, because I'm sure that it will stimulate great conversation and dialogue with some really great ideas and areas that you would want to incorporate into your sustainability plan. And then, go ahead.
Toja, before I go on to the next slide, are there any comments or questions? Anybody out there?
This is Christina from Grand Ronde. I do have one question, I guess. Is part of the sustainability or part of a plan, could we add, relationship building such an important part of that, and as well as like burnout, and is something in here, or can we add something in here about not necessarily, I guess something like self-care or excuse me, other training that we might be able to do to keep us, I don't know. Anyways.
Yes, those are really, really important points. Relationship building is part of partnerships, collaboration, and also self-care, burnout prevention, those types of things to put into your sustainability plan is really insightful, and it's really something that needs to be tended to. Thank you for that.
That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback. Absolutely, and that is a great point. We have the sustainability planning template, and we have some pre-filled activities and tasks that the team felt would be really beneficial for you to sit down with your team and review. But we encourage you to add in any activities and tasks that you would like to, or that you feel that would be really beneficial to your sustainability planning. So these are the activities and tasks that, like again, that I said that we feel would be beneficial, but feel free to add on into your action planning templates. So let's see, this is define the strategy. So, after looking at the assessment tool, some of the activities and tasks that we would strongly encourage you to sit down and make a plan for is identifying future sources of potential partner support. Also looking at researching other sources of support, other tribal areas of support, Medicare, state, foundational support, those types of areas. Also, when you're looking at defining some strategies, we really encourage you all to refine your list into realistic strategies. So really, again, looking at the tasks and timeline. And then developing a communications and marketing plan to effectively promote your sustainability strategies. So that will let your stakeholders and constituents and community really know what your sustainability planning goals are, and ways that they can be involved in helping promote your grant efforts for the long term. And all of these, again, we really encourage you to sit down and work through with your advisory committee. And I think we have one more slide. If somebody could. Okay, so the last one is really looking at conducting ongoing planning. So throughout the stages of your grant, from the beginning until the very end, we're really encouraging you to incorporate the sustainability planning. So making sure that you are coming back to your plan, and it's included on here an idea that sustainability planning should actually be a permanent agenda item on your advisory committee. So that's a good activity or task to incorporate.
Oh, John, I have a comment about that, about the permanent agenda item. There's a tribe, community that I worked with, where they have community meetings every month, and so some of the tribes are organized politically by, districts, and then those districts have communities within the district. So the communities decided to put on their agenda every month, how are the children doing? And meaning that, do we have any cases of child abuse and neglect? How are the youth doing? Have any of them, gone to jail? Are there any celebrations or accomplishments? So they put that on their agenda as a monthly review, and to look at data also, police reports, anything that pertain to children and youth, so that they have that on their radar all the time. So I think that's a real important item. Any thoughts or comments? We have about 8 minutes left in our talking circle. I want to first of all thank Toja, Erin, and Gandra and Nick for being on the call with us, and all of the participants. What kind of comments do you have as far as sustainability, any of the topics, anything that you'd like to share, any questions? And
hello?
Oh, go ahead.
Hi, this is Lynanne Yazzie. I just wanted to, I know it was mentioned before, creating some sort of coalition is very helpful, and I have all of the groups that we work with. I work with Unity, so we have a lot of youth councils across the nation. And connecting them to community programs or connecting them to tribes it's been interesting, because we have all of these programs who say, you know what, we have money to put on events, activities, hold activities for youth, but when they put a coalition together, they don't actually have youth on their coalition to give input. So I was just, overall, I think that any community program or tribe that wants to, host events or put on activities or programs should consider including their target audience, a representative from the target audience, to be a part of the coalition. That way, you can gather the interest. You know what they're interested in, what's going to grab their attention, and so that's just one suggestion.
Yes, and I really like that idea. It's very important to have community members, elders, youth, people that are receiving the services or are going to receive the services to be a part of the planning, to be a part of sustainability or any coalition, because they are the ones that are being impacted, right? And they are experts in their own lives. So I think thank you so much for that, Lynanne. Really appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? Paulette, I lost your question, and it was in the Q&A, but I don't see it now.
Kathleen, the question was, if several people are asking for copies of tribal intake packages or eligibility criteria checklists, is there a way we can share that information broadly? Can you think of a way to do that? Sounds like there was a lot of interest.
Yeah, I think so. I think from the listserv, and from the participant registration list, then we can send out tools.
So if anybody can send us the tools, either Ethelene, Aaron, or myself, we can forward them and get those out to people, right?
Yes. So Gandra or Nick, could you put the email address where people can send information that we can then send out to others? Where would they send that to?
They can send it to the training center, and the email address is tribalyouth@ouhsc.edu. And the presentation for download, they're both available in the download box. There's the PDF version and the actual PowerPoint version, and then also the sustainability assessment tool is available